Hi, it's Thursday, March the 30th, and I continue to read and wonder my way through John's Gospel. And today it's John chapter 12, verses 37 to 43. Just a short little bit. If you've been following along, well, you know that yesterday we were reading about Jesus basically explaining to the crowd that he's the Messiah and what that entails. And it was all about grain and growing and following and losing life and say all that stuff. He explained to them how they might follow him, and then basically having done all that, Jesus leaves the people to figure it out. We literally finished yesterday with the words, "He departed and hid from them." So after Jesus said what he had to say, he departed and he hid from them. So basically leaving them on their own to figure it out. And, well, here's what happens as they try to figure it out. John 12, 37 to 43. Although he had performed so many signs in their presence, they did not believe in him. This was to fulfill the words spoken by the prophet Isaiah, quote, "Lord, who has believed our message? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" End quote. And so they could not believe. Because Isaiah also said, quote, "He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so they might not look with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them." End quote. Isaiah said this because he saw his glory and spoke about him. Nevertheless, many, even of the authorities, believed in him. But because of the Pharisees, they did not confess it, for fear that they would be put out of the synagogue. For they loved human glory more than the glory that comes from God. So, John is trying to capture for us the struggle that the people have in believing Jesus. And one of the struggles I get, and it's very relevant. The other struggle seems theological and complicated, as for me it speaks to the character of God. Should we go with the difficult one first? So yeah, the people are confused, all right? And what we're told is, although he had performed so many signs in their presence, they do not believe Jesus. And I get that, particularly from John's perspective. So this is somebody who has met Jesus, or is certainly part of the Jesus community, and the revelation of God in Jesus is so overwhelming. You're looking back going, how in the heck is it that they don't get it? Oh my goodness, if I'd only been there to see it, I'd have been so thrilled. Oh, could you imagine what that would have been like? And so you start to try to figure out, well, why didn't they just believe instantly? People of faith do that all the time. They're very set in their faith. They're happy with their faith. They can't understand why you don't like their faith or why you don't get it the way they do. I'll have people talking to me, and I know they're looking at me going like, seriously, Seli, I don't get it the way you do. And I'm looking at them going like, how do you not get it? But I've lived with my faith my whole life, and it has grown and changed and evolved, and it's all of those things. So here's somebody who has their faith somewhat articulated. I mean, so articulated that they can actually write it into a gospel. And they're trying to describe people who are confused and not so sure. So why is it they don't get it? That's basically what the question is. Why is it they don't get it? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I like the second one the best, but the first one that they put forward, it seems to me anyway, John puts forward, is from the prophet Isaiah. So, Lord, who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? So that's Isaiah 53. I know, if you're keeping score. But it's this idea that faith is revelation, right? That God reveals. So you don't come to faith on your own. We know how we talk about the gift of faith. God gives you faith. You got to work on it, but it's a revelation from God, right? So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Who has believed our message? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? So who has the faith? Isaiah is asking, and that's sort of predicated on God has revealed God's self somehow, and their response. So faith is a response to an action by God, not something we do on our own. Okay? So that kind of works. But we've had the signs. Right? So we have been revealed. My goodness. God has been revealed, in Samaria, in Cana, at the temple, at the pools of Bethsaida, at the home of Lazarus. I mean, so many signs. How are they not getting it? So then we quote Isaiah again, a little earlier in Isaiah. It's Isaiah 6. Again, if you're keeping score, 6, I think it's verses 9 and 10. I'm pretty sure it's 9 and 10. Where he says he's blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so they might not look with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them. And I don't know if you did the meditations with through Exodus with me, but there are times that God hardens Pharaoh's heart as well. And back in those days, I wondered, well, why would God harden Pharaoh's heart? Maybe Pharaoh was going to change. Just when it seems that Pharaoh might give in, no, God hardened his heart, as if God didn't want Pharaoh to cooperate. And Isaiah evokes the same thing for me. Is what we're saying here that there are some people in this crowd, some of these people that are meeting Jesus, who might believe, but God has hardened their hearts so that they cannot. I mean, that's what it says. He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so they might not look with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them. So John is looking at this going, well, if they're not getting it and it's so obvious, it must be that God doesn't want them to get it. Now, I don't know whether that's John's statement that ties into predestination and elect and kind of fits sort of a Calvinist view of things. I'm not sure whether John is actually saying there are people there who don't deserve to be saved in God's eyes, so God's not letting them have the faith that would allow them to follow Jesus. But it kind of feels like that. And I struggle with that. That does not seem to me to be consistent with Jesus, who I've learned from the lessons that Jesus taught, the way that Jesus lives. That doesn't seem to work, doesn't seem to be consistent with me, with a God who becomes one with us to suffer and struggle and die. I just don't understand that, because surely these people who are not believing, they have all sorts of reasons for not believing. And they might very well be understandable if I knew them. And God does know them. So just this idea that God would turn their hearts. Now, John is quoting Isaiah. So John is making sense of what he believes Isaiah was saying and applying it here because I believe he's confused, or at least trying to find a reason for these people not believing such a compelling case. I mean, look at the signs. It's Jesus. Of course you're going to follow him. Why not? Must be God. The only thing that could possibly be. Jesus is so good, if people aren't following him, that must weirdly be God's will. And so we're going to bring up Isaiah here. I don't know whether John's thought this through fully, or I haven't thought it through fully, or we just disagree. But I struggle with it. And then as I sink into it myself a little more, and I don't think this is what Isaiah was after, but John's brought Isaiah along. So he has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so they might not see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them. It seems to me in the last couple of days, well, actually all through John's gospel, there are moments when Jesus seems to be saying, you get this. If you just sit with it, you get it. Stop trying to put together the case. So it's not about what you see, right? It's not about what you see. It is about what you feel in your heart. Trust yourself when it comes to faith. So it's not, oh, he did 6 signs, he did 4 signs. The 6 sign guy must be the one who's closest to God. Obviously. It's not that. It's not a competition. It's not even evidentiary in terms of objective evidence. It is subjective experience. You know. He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so they might not look with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn that I would heal them. So I'm not following Jesus because I saw the amazing things Jesus did. I'm following Jesus because I know in my heart that's what I need to do. Because I know that that's what heals me. I know that that's what makes me whole. And I can't explain it to you. It just is. And when I go that path, I feel increasingly whole. I feel healed. I feel better. I think that's what Isaiah's words can be leading into, and that makes some sense to me. And I think that's part of what John, the author of this gospel, is going through. The evidence is there, and you're not seeing it. But by bringing up Isaiah the way he does, it just brings up this idea of God hardening people's hearts. But I think it's God hardening their hearts so that perhaps they can go through the journey that brings them. Not that God has looked at them and decided there's no hope for them, so there's no point in giving them faith. They're not worthy. Although it's interpreted that way by some. By many, in fact. The reason you don't get the faith, I have heard it said, is that God knows you're hopeless. So thank you for that. Except that I believe that all things are possible with God. Pretty sure I heard that somewhere. So I need to hear this in a way that does give us hope. So the hope is that our real connection to Jesus, our real act of faith comes from within. We trust ourselves. We know that this is true. And then when we know it like that, the evidence certainly corroborates what we feel, and it helps us shape the narrative, and all that's really great. But even if you started to take some of the evidence away, it wouldn't change what I know to be essentially true. I have referenced my friend before, wonderful minister, now very active in the Roman Catholic Church, but was a fellow United Church cleric, who said to me one day, yes, if they found the bones of Jesus, then I might as well sell shoes. And my response to him was, honestly, if they found the bones of Jesus, then I know God will give me something else, because it's not based on, my faith is not based on evidence as much as it's based on what I feel. And of course, the tricky thing of that is to not make it all about me. My faith isn't narcissistic. I am experiencing God, relating to God, but I am trusting myself that this is authentic. Yeah, we could spend the day on that, couldn't we? Anyway, that's the first thing. The other reason, and John might have saved us all a whole lot of time if he just jumped to the second reason and skipped the first, but he wouldn't have been as honest. The second is that nevertheless, many, even of the authorities, believed in Jesus. So even with the blinding and the confusion of how hard this is, hardening the hearts, all that, still, but many did believe. So we acknowledge that. Many of them did. But because of the Pharisees, they did not confess it. They dared not say it for fear they would be put out of the synagogue. Now, John then says, because they loved human glory more than the glory that comes from God, which is true, although it sounds like they would rather have people singing their praises than singing God's praises. Yeah, that's true. I got it. But I can be a little kinder, too, and say, yes, but they're also afraid to be kicked out of their families, kicked out of their communities, be put out of the synagogue. Synagogue is your life support. It's your spiritual connection to God. It also feeds you when you're running out of food. It is your place where you meet and connect with people. If you're out of the synagogue, and they have experienced God's love in community, so it's a hard thing to let go of that. Even though you've got God's love big here, but I got God's love small here. I don't know if I'm ready to give up the small for the big. That glory that comes from God. This glory over here came from God too. I really believe that, and I don't think John disbelieves that. But we're going to call that human glory because that's the glory that comes out of the community itself as opposed to the glory that's revealed in Jesus. It's hard. And I think John gets that it's hard. I think John is a little frustrated that it's so hard for the people because, again, he's got it. Why don't they have it? But he appreciates that it's difficult. I was describing this to somebody the other day, and I said, it feels to me, particularly when I read through John, not just John, but when I read through John, it feels to me like the authorities, the decision makers, right? The Pharisees, the chief priests, Sadducees, that whole group, feels to me like they're kind of like 55-45. 45 for Jesus, 55, no, we shouldn't do that. When we tell the story, it sounds like it's 99% against Jesus, 1% maybe Nicodemus, maybe another guy. But John's making it pretty clear to us. Nevertheless, many, even of the authorities. So that's a big deal. That's not just not the stupid people who don't know better, right? This is everybody. Even the authorities believed in him. And for me, the struggle, well, we're going to arrest him. Well, we couldn't arrest him. And then, I mean, if you remember, they sent the temple police to arrest Jesus, and they didn't. And they asked why, and the temple police said, well, the way he was talking, we just couldn't. I mean, it was a lovely little smiley moment, but I think it also speaks to the truth that you're speaking. The temple police were speaking to a group of people, and they knew they had support within those people. You wouldn't say that if you knew that everybody was about to be mad at you. No. This group is divided, and in that division, they understand, and so you're free to say, yeah, I was going to, but it's the people and what he was saying. It just didn't seem. So I really have this sense that they're on the top of this. Like there's just it's a teeter-totter, a seesaw, and it's like a 45-55. Could almost go either way. Sometimes it feels, and I get that. I get that with my faith. Oh, there are moments I know exactly what I should do, but this other thing would be, this would be easier. This would be more convenient. And then I'll start talking to myself, well, and self-care is important, Norm, and you should do that. So you shouldn't have to extend yourself too much because, and then, if you think about it, if you look at self-care over a week, but if you stretch out self-care over a year, well, then you owe yourself this break and that break. And then there's a voice saying, yeah, I know, but you need to do this thing now because that's where God's calling you. Yeah, I know, but I have to take care of myself. And besides, my family can count on me. And there are people in my church who just sort of want me to be there for coffee so we can just sit and chat because that's a good thing to do. And I know that I could be in this dramatic place where I maybe have a unique thing to add, but the coffee's easier, and they need me, and they'll be sad without me, and I love that feeling of community. So I am talking about God calling me there, but I'm also talking about God calling me to the other place, and how it's a pull to go to the easier, comfortable place, any place where they're going to offer coffee and cookies. But it's also more dramatic than that, too. And it's bigger scale than that, too. There are great big questions of faith that come up, and you could sort of go either way, and I'm going to go safe. I'm going to go the way where I don't have to fight with some people in my family who have a different perspective. And if they heard that I was doing this, they would be all over me. Right? So I'm going to take the path of least resistance, because surely peace and order are good too, right? And oh my God, isn't that what the Pharisees want? Peace and order? But sometimes faith invites us, beckons us, demands us to upset the peace and order, like Jesus does. But it's not done easily. And it's not done obviously. It's not like, oh, clearly, boom, I got it. No. We sometimes need to reflect on it a while. Jesus left the crowd for them to process through this. And what I get from this is a crowd who are thinking, well, maybe some people just don't deserve to be saved, and maybe I do, and I want to be one of those ones. And so, so they're having that discussion. I mean, that's a real discussion that we actually do have in our churches, whether we know it or not. We actually do have discussions. Some people don't deserve to be saved. I know I'm really super interpreting Isaiah hardening their heart, God hardening their hearts, but it's like, yeah, we're not going there. Like, those are real faith discussions that we have. They're not necessarily about Jesus, but they are about our faith. As a community, who do we care for? Who do we not care for? We can't do everything, but what are we doing? Those are real discussions. They're having those. And in the midst of those, what I hear Jesus say, well, I don't hear Jesus. Jesus is not talking here. What I hear John saying through the prophet Isaiah, and what I hear Jesus saying through this whole gospel is, yeah, you have to trust in here too. It's not just about picking the right signs and following them. It's about knowing here that it's time to go to coffee. Or it's not. It's time to go to something that really needs you more. It's time to invest in these people. Even if it means you have to leave these ones to somebody else, to God, to connect another way. It's having to choose, and it's difficult, and you can draw up all sorts of lists and check marks and do everything you want to try to create a calculus, a mathematics to solve this. But in the end, God is speaking to you. And you have to be able to listen to that and trust that. If I were preaching to you now, I'd talk about what it's like to know that and trust that, and yet have the community go in a different direction. And how do you live with that? How do you trust what God is saying to you without becoming a zealot and shutting out everybody else? But that's another day. For now, I'm just going to leave this as it is. The people are confused. I know John doesn't quite get it. But in their confusion and they're trying to figure this out, I understand their struggle. And I'm really glad that John shared it with us. And yeah, sometimes I do love human glory more than the glory that comes from God, but it's usually because I've confused them. But with a little time and wondering, I can start to separate them out. Anyway, let me offer a prayer. Loving God, thank you. Thank you for your glory, your word that is revealed in story, revealed in community, that is revealed in our imagination, in our wondering, and is revealed, is confirmed deep within us. God, we ask that today be a day that we hear you from deep within, and that we figure out how best to follow you. We pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit. Amen. That's it for me today, but we'll wrap up the chapter tomorrow because Jesus has something to say. So let's see if Jesus has an answer for our quandary. Until I get to see you, God bless you. And please know that means that God sees you and God loves you. exactly as you are, exactly where you are, and that God's love moves through you and into the world, a world that needs the love that God offers, the love that you offer. So please know that you are important. Your love matters. And we'll see you tomorrow. God bless.